Nuggets. I'm Coach Roxanne.
I am Coach Chuck.
And last week, if you joined us on Friday, we heard all about Chuck's the history of the Marvs, and how he kind of ended up here today. Boy, now that I'm thinking, we could have gone so much deeper.
Well, that could have been like a 10-part series. I probably will have to. I'm going to have to write a book at some point, or it'll be like something on Netflix with.
We both could write.
Do. It's
yes,
crazy. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So today we're talking about.
Beep. I'm hijacking the show. All right.
I can't believe you just speak.
She's the star of the show, but she was interviewing me last week, and I want to kind of interview her. So just guys, here's the deal. This is her show. She has shared so much with you guys over the last year. She's talked about multiple angles of her story, her journey, her way she lost 100 pounds and kept it off. I mean, it's just really, she's talked a lot. So I thought today.
I talked a lot.
No, in a good way. But what I wanted to do today, as your kind of hijacking host, is I wanted to talk about a shift that we have made personally in the last 6 months. And it kind of all started with a statement that Coach Roxanne made. It was back in late August. So just to give you a little bit of context, about 6 months into COVID, here we are transitioning our business, going through a lot of change in pivoting in our business, and we're at home. This is new for us. 6 months into COVID, this whole lockdown thing. And basically we're working out a lot, but we're not eating well. And so we were steadily gaining weight. We had let alcohol back into our life. We had let sweets back into our life. We weren't really paying attention to what we were doing. And it started to creep in. So that's the context. So in roughly late August, we don't know the exact date, but it was somewhere in August, Coach Roxanne says something to me. And it is like, dagger. But it was needed. It was a divine dagger, a divine shank. And
gosh, I don't know if I...
No. You were trying on clothes or something.
Oh, yes.
And you said,
I can't stand the way I feel anymore. I can't stand the way I look. I don't know if I voiced it all, but I definitely felt like I was like the meat squeezing into the sausage casing.
She had the meat sweats.
It's true.
No.
Like putting on a normal pair of jeans or putting on one of the shirts that used to fit me comfortably, nothing fit. Like I felt, and this when I say this, it throws people off. Well, I felt disgusting.
Yeah, and she said, I don't like the way I fit in my clothes or something along those lines. And I get it. Like some people are going to be like, oh my goodness, guys, you guys are like the fit pros. But we all have our own personal journeys, and we know how we like to look, but more importantly, how we like to feel. And, and when she said that, the divine dagger was, it forced me in that moment to really take look at what was happening, right? We were doing Pizza Monday, and we were drinking like alcohol every single night. We were doing cookies on the weekend.
So alcohol is my nemesis. For some people,
and
it's sugar. It's some people, it's salty. Alcohol is my nemesis. And when I get stressed, overwhelmed, tired, I started to use Any Reason in the book, and I would finish and I would end the days every day with a glass of wine. I don't know if there weren't many weeks where I even missed a day.
Right. And for me, it was the sweets. And our daughter was working at Festival Food, and I'd ask her, or she would offer to bring home cookies. And, it didn't have to be 10 in one sitting. Sometimes it was, but it was, 3 or 4 is enough. At 250 calories a crack, it's going to make and sugar. And the addictions were back. And when she said that, it was like, all right, we need to make a change. And that was the birth of 21 Tough. 21 Tough has its own story, and you guys have probably heard it, but that was the birth of 21 Tough. That was the birth of the Better Buddy Fitness, what we kind of call the core 4, if you will, the smoothie, the step, the sweat, the sipping game. It was a recommitment to the smoothies, but it was a commitment to having a plan, and it was like another line in the sand moment. And Roxanne said, we are going to make a plan. And we are going to make these foods. And that was a huge, massive transition for us.
And a huge part of me felt out of integrity. Mm-hmm. Like here we are, the leaders, and we're not doing what we're telling other people to do. And if you've ever been in that spot, it leaves this sick, empty feeling deep in the pit of your stomach. And I was like, but both of us were, we need to start leading. We need to do what we say what we do. And that was a huge part of it as well.
So when we started this, it was the commitment to the green smoothie. Now, she doesn't have a gallbladder, and the way her body reacts to greens doesn't...
TMI.
Right. So she's like, I'm doing my shake, I'm doing my smoothie every single day, no matter what.
Yep.
And then we ran a program in March called the Break Free Program, and we used our signature 28-day plan for that. First step we did is we went back into that program, which was kind of a high protein, high fat, moderate carbohydrate. But the big trick to this was that the 28-day plan that we had was simple recipes done, in short amounts of time with lots of flavor and lots of vegetables. And we had kind of messed around with it, but we're going all in.
Yeah, so we have so many great resources that provide recipes and snacks and the best foods to eat and the not great foods to eat. And we started to live by those. And as we started to put the basics to work, all of a sudden we're like, well, let's research some new recipes. Let's buy a couple of new cookbooks. And we are still doing that now, 7 months later, still using the things that we have found and loved, sharing them with our membership base, who in fact is sharing their recipes with us. And I keep building my arsenal, but now I'm creating menu plans 2 weeks out, 2 weeks in advance, so that I'm always prepared. But I'll tell you, it sounds simple, it's not. I'm always looking at that menu plan. I'm looking 2 to 3 days out. What do I need to pull from the freezer? Making sure I have all of the ingredients, which normally I do, but it's just being prepared.
So we were recommitting to the process. We were recommitting to knowing that, like grocery shopping for us, we weren't very committed to that, right? So it was like we would we would construct a meal plan for the week, and then she would build the grocery list based off of that. We also reestablished a budget. Now, I know I don't want to go too far off the beaten path here, but I'll tell you, we recommitted to establishing a financial budget. And what that did was it didn't give us wiggle room to continually make the purchases of things we didn't need. We would buy things that we didn't need, things that weren't in the menu plan, double, triple down on things that maybe vegetables that we thought were great, but we weren't going to eat, that would go, expire. The little crackers and the chips and all that stuff. We really fine-tooth comb audited it. So we had our plan. We had our grocery list. We went and executed and we bought our groceries. We brought them home. We looked at different things that we were going to need to do for the week. Freezing meats, when we were going to eat what. We really went all chips in. And it sounds kind of overwhelming, but it really wasn't. It was just going through the steps of understanding.
In the beginning, yes. It took time. It took time to sit down and create all those menus and write down all the ingredients. Now, it's like everything else. I set aside my time on a Monday or Tuesday. It's a couple of hours. I go through the recipes we have. I'll search a couple more or grab ones from what's shared. And it's just now like clockwork. But it's taken me 7 months to get here.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing things like we're finding Instapot slow cooker stuff. We bought a cast iron skillet,
Yes.
We bought Dutch ovens and things like this to kind of expand, right? We looked at different flavors. But one thing was kind of consistent through it all. We looked for things that had short prep times.
Right.
Things that were not overly complicated, that didn't have 15, 20 steps in them. And they produced big flavors. Another thing that we created was our foods list. We had our greens, yellow, reds foods list, right? Like greens are approved, yellows are the ones where you may have to kind of mess around with and understand, and reds were kind of limit or eliminate. We created a holy grail cheat sheet that we would refer off of. Does this recipe follow through on the greens and yellow principle? If it's mostly in the reds, then that was going to be something we wouldn't really mess around with, or we would very much limit it. And that really... Checks and balances was a huge part of our last 6 months transition.
Yeah.
So, Coach Roxanne, I mean, you have been in many different places in your body and in your journey. Like, I remember when we first got together, you did Whole30. Mm-hmm. Then you experimented. You did a small experimental keto run.
Yep.
You've done calorie cycling. And these are just in the times that we have known one another.
I went vegan for a while. I tried to do a lot of these things, not because I'm always searching for a magic pill, but because I want to be able to speak from them when somebody asks me about them. I want to give them my true, honest opinion. And what I have found over the past 15 years is just eat healthy food. Just eat healthy food. You don't have to do crazy fad diets. And now I am going against everything that's out there in the world that tells you do have to, or that tells you you'll lose weight faster. What I have found is you might lose weight a little faster. You're also going to put it on faster. And a lot of those fad diets aren't lifestyles. They're meant for today. They're meant for this next week, this next month, but they're not meant to be forever.
Statistically speaking, at the time of this recording, I know that where you are in your body is equal to or slightly just a smidge ahead of where you were the last couple times you dieted down.
Yes.
But now it took longer to get here.
Yep.
But would you agree that now you're in a position to not only keep moving forward, but sustain?
Oh gosh, yes. I feel like, I don't know if I feel like I've ever been in this spot before with such ease. I feel like I've possibly been here.
But patience.
Yes, I've been here, but in a way that I could not sustain, in a way that wasn't sustainable. I, for the first time, feel like the meals that we're having and the foods we're eating are something I can now do for the rest of my life. I'm not doing anything other than making healthy food choices with meats and vegetables and a few, and honestly, yes, we eat carbs. We eat carbs.
We eat carbs quite often, actually, yeah. I mean, I draw a parallel to like marathon training. Like if you've never run a marathon, most people, when they start a beginner's marathon training program, the commitment is 20 or more weeks, which is 5 to 6 months. But to do it in a way that makes you successful, and that's just to complete your first, if you want to do another one. So your commitment is 6 months to reach a time that's going to be your first marathon. And then imagine doing a second, third, fourth, and fifth. The training principles remain the same, but you could complete a marathon with 6 weeks of training. You could do it. It's going to hurt. And you're not going to do anything sustainable enough to be like, man, yeah, I can. It would be the wrong practice. Yet
and chances are you're going to end up hurt.
Right. And so I only share that if you're still with us on this video, because that is like trying to beast mode nutrition, right?
Yeah.
It is like, there's nothing wrong with keto or paleo or Whole30 or carb cycling or any of that. If you need to get somewhere incredibly fast. But what happens after you do that, the process of coming out of it, do I believe any of those are long-term lifestyles? What I say is, for the minutia, like less than 1% of the population can actually use those as lifestyles. And they do.
They do.
But the other 99% of us never will.
But they do it because usually they don't have a choice. Usually there's some underlying health issue and that requires them to do it. When you're doing it just for weight loss, that usually isn't enough of a motivation to keep you going forever.
Right. So I guess big picture thoughts coming out of this, Coach Roxanne. I know one for me was the sustainability of the plan, which was incorporating variety and finding things that we're doing today, 6 months later, that we can still be doing for years to come.
Yes. Yep. And I feel now, again, because I'm 7 months in, things are such habit. And that's what I tell people. You have to do it every day. You have to go through the motions. You have to go through the actions. If you're just hoping things are going to happen, it won't. You have to show up and make it happen for yourself.
All right, I'm going to ask you one last question, and I'm going to answer it myself. So I'll give you. She hates when I ask questions when they're not written down here. So I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to answer. So I'm going to answer it on my behalf. Okay. If you could pick a word or one or two words and explain what the last 6 months have given you, and go through it. I'll answer real quickly. I don't want to steal it. I'll just give you a minute. So
okay, you answer while I take a little time to think about this.
Okay, so if I had to pick two words that come to my mind right away that I have felt in my bones, in my soul, in every single, number one, I feel incredibly clear. I feel incredibly clear about where we're going, where we've been, what we're doing, and how we're showing up every single day. And I feel like that gives me, the second word is, it gives me a lot of power. I feel very powerful in my body. I feel very powerful in my mind. I've gotten rid of the fog. I know exactly what we're doing, how we're doing, when we're going to do it. I like getting in the kitchen with my wife. I love making these meals. I feel physically strong. I feel that clarity and power is greater than ever before, because when I used to diet, it was always about, what's next? What's going to happen next? What if I can't sustain this? What ifs? I was just bogged down by fog and the what ifs. How am I ever going to be able to sustain that? I don't have those questions right now. So I'm curious, what is it for you?
I would say my 2 words would be, I am energized and I am passionate. I have not been this passionate about something, about my journey, in a long time. And this past 6 to 7 months I've got that renewed passion again. And along with that comes this crazy energy. I'm energized. I'm excited. I can't wait for the next day. I can't wait for the next week, because I feel like I have the best momentum now that I've ever had.
Boy, when we sit down to make those plans, it's not a drag. We look
forward
to it. We look forward to it.
Yes.
And we have pizza night every Friday night, but it's we do healthy versions of it.
Yeah. We have not given up the things we've loved. We have figured out how to make the things we love into healthier versions to fit our
Oh,
lifestyle.
all right, drop the mic. That was
right.
it. Go back and listen to that like 5 times, those last 5 seconds.
All right,
seconds.
we gotta go. We
Yep.
gotta say goodbye. But join us tomorrow on the fan page. Don't miss the 7:30 workout. And on Monday, I will be back live. I'm gonna be a little tanner. I'm gonna be a little taller. Oh no.
I'll be a less white.
All right, my
She'll
friends.
be tan.
We love you all. I can't wait to see you back here on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. And remember, if we can do this, you can do this.
Love you guys. Have
Have
a
a
great
great day.
weekend.